on, Zombies. Check on in. I'm gonna have to hold on. Copy. Okay. Let me put it in the chat and then I'll pin it so they can come on in. Okay. And let me pin it. Pin the message. Okay, you guys have it on YouTube. You can check on it. Be appropriate. Yes, one question. Oh, there she goes. That's the saucy one, Rod. Just don't smile too much. Cutie pie. Look at her. Look at her goddess. Go ahead, Nikki. Don't scare him now, Nikki. Come on in. Hey, Nikki, you survived.
Hey, I can't. Camming up. As soon as you said that is when I logged in.
The picture's enough. He could hear that beautiful voice. Come on in, Nikki. What you gotta say?
Oh, I just enjoy both of you so very much. And I love how he tapped into our conversation last night.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I'm loving that. Camming up. As soon as you said that is when I
Oh, you
logged.
got your thing in the background. We can hear your background.
Nikki, I agree. It was just so simpatico. It was just on point, and I was just enjoying it and just listening to it, and just yeah, it was awesome. It was we're in sync. It was like he was with us last night. It was like,
That's
yeah,
right. He's in there. He's looking at the etheric realms, listening to our post insane conversations on our 72-hour Zooms. Oh, Rod,
yes,
we out of control. Like
Yeah,
pajama parties that last for like 3 days.
yeah. He got
the
to come join
best.
for one.
Esoteric, you join us, Rod. It's like an esoteric dream. Come on in, Zai's here. Oh, the Zoomies are coming in to talk to you, Rod. Okay, y'all. So ask some questions to Rod. Come on in. Anybody have a question, a comment? Hey, Zai.
Yeah. What's up, Fleur?
Hey, darling.
Yeah.
View for a study session. They not the same thing. I teach with young elder, but I answer questions in interview format with Brother Rich. Different people be looking for different information. If you listen to what I'm saying, I don't have to give a reference. If I'm talking about control remote viewing, go look up control remote viewing. If I'm talking about telepathic communication, you look up telepathic communications, right? If I'm talking about the Van Allen belt and the Pleiadian light lock, go study the Van Allen belt. Just because I'm not giving you the direct sources that I'm drawing from, because a lot of them be psychic sometimes, so I can't give them to you. But everything that I'm saying is researchable. If you stop worrying about me giving you references and start listening to what I'm saying, I won't have to give you a reference because you'll use what I said to guide you to do research and investigation. I don't do debates because they not relying. Everybody's relying on third party information. Nobody that wrote history is saying they seen it when it happened. They all writing shit down after the fact. So I can write something down after the fact, be it true or not, and be just as valid as all those other people. Because they making it up as they go anyway, because ain't none of this shit real. I'm just going to do a few more because it's letting me do a lot. It used to only let me do a limited number, but now I know okay, that's enough. Yeah. Hey. Yeah, it's a whole lot of people that be saying the same stuff. I'm not the only one saying what I'm saying. Look, it's chiefs all over the land that know we was already here. It's matriarchs all over the land that know we was already here. What most of us don't know is that a lot of the Native Americans that was brought in under the Dawes Act made treaties with us to be able to sit in our stead, but they had to learn our rituals. A lot of those tribes that we call reservation tribes and reservation Indians, they had a big mama from us, the ones that sided with us. We have to stop letting that divide and conquer of those ones who came as ceremonial tribes. This is how we view them on the land. The tribe that's not a direct blood link is a ceremonial tribe. You have to go back in history. When I tell you that if you don't know who the Moors was fighting from 711 to, I don't know who that is, I ain't gonna answer that, to 1493, 94, when they finally got kicked out of Europe. If you don't know who they took their slaves from and set their slave villages up in Europe, you won't know when it say in the history books and they brought 20 of their servants, 40 of their servants. They brought a cook. They brought their kitchen hands. They brought their skilled trades workers from those slave villages. Rome historically fought the Huns, right? And we know the Huns from Attila the Hun. They fought the Mongolians, which we call them Khans. The Amaru Khans is the allegiance that was made with the ones from over there. And we have to remember, a lot of us very chocolatey rich skin complexion still have from Marion on the West Coast that look that they commonly call Native American look, but you darker. That's because you've been marrying into the tribes from over there since they was darker too. All of these lighter skinned people was Johnny come lately. Not to be a knock on skin color, but skin color is the tool used to enforce the artificial caste system. Now, who else did the Romans and the Greeks fight? They fought the Vedics. They fought what's known as the Barbary Wars. And the Barbary was those coming from the southeast of Rome. Well, you know, Rome is situated in Italy. Southeast is across the Mediterranean, going into what's known as the Indus Valley. So this is where they get your Vedic servants from, captured in warfare, moved to the slave village to add to an admixture of a gene pool in the slave villages. The slave villages was being dismantled by what they call them, inquisitors, as the Spanish Inquisition and the exiling of the Moors from France, Spain, Portugal, Denmark, and all of these places. While they was being kicked out, they were being shipped across the Pillars of Hercules into what's today known as Northwest Africa, Tunisia, Morocco, Libya, right? And they were being sent there first. That's before they came over here and brought their servants with them. Now, when they get over here and they bring in these people, these is the ones that they telling us they gonna replace us with if we don't win the Conjure War, snap out of the slumber, and remember we was already here, and that if we don't surrender or submit or abandon our birthright, they can't have it. We don't have to do nothing. All we got to do is let Trump finish tearing it down. So now everybody talking about the 9-star flag, but nobody's mentioned that there's 11 stripes, right? So it's a 9/11 war flag under the eagle pendant facing to the war zone of the arrows. The arrows represent the tribes, right? And the tribes at war use arrows. Otherwise, he would have had a fistful of rifles. So the war that's being fought is the restoration of the great law. But you had to undo the corporation and restore the republic so that the republic can restore the great law, or what we know in layman's terms as the common law. The common law is the de jure jurisdiction, right? The corporate jurisdiction is the de facto. The de facto government or system is the one that's pretending to be the correct system, but it's not. De facto means the fraud, or in fact, the fact of. And the fact of the matter is that they imposing a jurisdictional override on us because of our ignorance of the law. Therefore, they keep it in the forefront of our minds by reminding us that ignorance is no excuse of the law. Because you don't know the parameters and the guidelines by which you being enslaved, don't mean I got to tell you. I just got to keep it consistent enough for you to figure it out. Yep, everything unraveling in our face. Trump tearing his home up. He's the liquidator. He's the CEO that comes in to liquidate the assets of the defunct corporation so that the asset can be put where it accurately go in order to pay the creditors for the debt incurred by the corporation. They owe it all to us. That's why when you're going to know the flip, because the bank's going to crash, they're going to close the banks. And when they open the banks back up, they're going to tell you that the national debt is the national debit for the government to restructure and rebuild. And they cover those assets with the confiscated gold that belonged to the people of this land that was being systematically stolen by the Crown of England and the Vatican and their cohorts. So when you don't know who you fighting, you're going to fight everybody, even your allies. So a lot of those, what we call $5 Indians and pretendians, is ceremonially adopted onto the land in order for them to be able to practice and learn our rituals. This is how you can clearly see that 1-2-step method of teaching them how to do what we do by nature. It's natural for us to crip walk, bee walk, jitting. You know, it's natural for us to break dance. That's nothing new to us. It's the old Mississippian cultural fingerprints throughout the society to let you know we ain't never went nowhere. Right? And yeah, King, I wish I could dig him up, bring him back to life so I can murder his ass again. But that's a whole nother animal. So these people, feelings is hurt because Trump telling them y'all immigrants too. How do he know they immigrants if they've been here for 200-300 years? Because they got what's called an isolated gene pool. They gene pool because they only married within their tribe 90% of the time, and the ones who left the reservation and married into the other tribes across the land, they lost their ties to the rest. Therefore, they not recognized as an immigrant no more. They didn't been absorbed into the population at large. If you don't see what's going on, you're going to be attacking people that don't deserve to be attacked. They took a lot of the weight, too, for this fight for liberation from the colonizers. When they got here, when they telling you people was running away from the slave master, it was them running to us. It wasn't us running to them. That's who the slaves was that came over here. If the paleface don't start coming to the mass Ellis Island immigration, and they needed the paleface in order to give us these false characters called white people. What the white people don't mean what you think white people mean. And that's why the trick works so well, because all the time, this nigga that's saying kill whitey is the goddamn white man, and you thinking he your ride or die when he your saboteur. He the one that was sent here in order to keep you from remembering who you was before you were bond servant to somebody for your errant activities on the land. Yep. So that's what they use to keep us from getting into business. Remember, and I keep telling people, pay attention, and they're telling you who we are, but without telling you. We are the largest group of heritable landowners on the land, right? Ever since the system that we call America been in play, in this racist doctrine, we weren't allowed to buy property. We weren't allowed to participate in the day-to-day activities of banking. That's why we all had our own banks. We were not allowed to buy goods at wholesale prices. That's why you end up getting trapped and losing a lot of property and sharecropping agreements. But all of this heirs land that we have being blocked out of all of the institutions, where in the hell we get it from? Where we get all of this heritable property if we not from the land? Make it make sense. Where did all of these Negroes with the largest heirs property birthrights in the country? Ain't no pale faces got more heirs land in America than people that look like me. So where in the hell did we get the land when we weren't allowed to purchase the land? We weren't allowed to participate in banking, but we making sharecropping agreements, losing land to the financiers or the bankers of the sharecropping institution of mortgages. Where we get the land? Who gave us the land? Where did we buy it at? There's no record of us buying it. It's only a record of us always being on it. They can't say that your great-great-grandfather and all that land he had, they can't tell you where he got it, who he bought it from. There's no deed that preceded him. There's nobody who held the land longer than us without people knowing where we get the land from. You have to analyze what they're telling you. You can't be the largest heritable land recipients without having some kind of structure that proves that you are heritable on the land. What do they know they're not telling us? Look this stuff up. Look up the largest heirs property owners in America. It's us. Where did we get the land when nobody was allowed to sell it to us? And then when the paleface came, they was giving them large plots of land under the salvage and squatters' rights. And then they was giving them financial incentives to mechanize their farms and to hire hands to help. Now we getting hired because we lost it in the sharecropping agreement, probably, or not. They just wrote the paperwork and said it was theirs. This is the hardest thing for us to get through our head. But once we get this part, that the only way we can have as much heirs property as they claim, we have to be the original heirs on the land. And they have to be aware of this. Now remember, the other people was just ceremonial tribes. They was like, we hired them to perform certain rituals on the land that we don't want interrupted during the conflict. So we teach it to them using the 1-2-step method, the same way you teach the hustle, the same way you teach square dance. But once they get the dances down and they can perform them, they become a full ceremonial tribe. We are spirit brothers, according to the elders of the land. If they maintain our rituals, stop fighting them people. They ain't the ones that we supposed to be fighting. It's these niggas that look like us, that ain't us, that keep trying to convince us that we not from here when we been here. And we invited all of the people here that's supposed to be here that may not genetically be tied to the land as ceremonial support systems. You got to remember, it's 12 mitochondrial lines, 13 actually. The main line is what we call the Isis line. That's the 13th mitochondrial. All of the females' genome exists through that bloodline. Then you have what's known as the 12 daughters of Isis, often referred to in modern mysticism as the sisters of Eve or the daughters of Eve. This is because they don't want you to know the original Earth tribes, all of us was melanated to one degree or another, but our melanin didn't take on the colors of the shades of brown because we was magnesium source metallic conversion, and now we iron based metallic conversion, and it rust is brown or orangish color, but the magnesium tarnishes and becomes shades of blue and green, right? So we don't remember that. That's why that racism shit works so well. A lot of them people was being turned blue, where you get your Smurf story from, in the Appalachian Mountains with the silver water for sunscreen. But we don't know the culture of the land, and we don't know how we used to treat conditions of the foreigners that came. So if you don't know what we used to do, you don't know what is these stories telling you. They telling us the history, but they ain't telling us in the history class. They telling us in arts and entertainment. They telling us in the music, right? Because they know we not gonna trust the politicians. They already know this because they all slime balls puppets, and all of them is controlled from somewhere else. Somebody else control every politician in on the land. Now, the only place where you get where the people actually have control is what you call grassroots politics. That means your local government, your city council, your mayor, your sheriff. That's it. Police